friends, on behalf of our respected founder president, it is indeed a great pleasure once again for me to welcome all of you to this panel discussion. Unlike the previous one, it used to be a one-person thing, but we have a panel today. And the panel discussions are on a very important topic called the food security. And it is our 130th lecture in the lecture series. Food security, in simple words, refers to the availability of food and one food secure when its occupants do not live in hunger or fear or starvation. According to the FAO, the definition of food security is, food security exists when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food, underlined, to meet their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. This is the exact definition of food security. We are holding this panel discussion on a very current and very important topic of food security, which is, as you all know, very close to the heart of our respected founder president. Mind you, as I speak, he's already on his way to be here. He had unfortunately to go to pay his condolences to some death took place of somebody he knew in Patel Nagar, and he left about 10 minutes back. So during the panel discussion, he would be with us. And the founder president warns that there should be series of panel discussions on this topic, because it's such a topic that each subject becomes one seminar by itself. In India, both the GDP and grain production has risen faster than the growth in population over the last 50 years, and yet chronic hunger and starvation persist in large sections of the population. In a seminar which took place this morning, I happened to be listening to a talk by our esteemed Dr. Saran, and the two startling figures that still stick to my mind is, he mentioned that for 30 crore people of our great country go to bed hungry without food. And 57% of the people who have food, there is not nutritious enough. So this is a problem that he had mentioned. I stand corrected if it's okay. Is that right? Today there are a number of challenges that exist to food security. For instance, climate change, the seasonal product price fluctuations, the global economic downturn, obesity and diet-related diseases, food safety and consumer health, evolving consumer demands, the current supply chain management, storage system, procurement of seasonal raw material, to name a few. There are many, many issues. Even if there is a disaster, you'll find that the amount of flooding that is taking place in this part of the world, all the food has gone waste. So, ladies and gentlemen, to discuss and debate such issues and to provide us an educated insight, we have invited excellent speakers on the topic who are experts in this area. Let me introduce you to the speakers of today. I'll just name them, and I'll request that second part to be done by the panel discussion, which is going to be moderated by Professor Jian Kaur. Dr. M. Parthiban. He is the Managing Director, Life Science Intelligentsia. And more importantly, I believe his daughter studies here. Mr. Ashok Zutshi, he is the Vice President, National Bulk Handling Corporation. Dr. A.K. Yadav, Director, National Council of Organic Farming. And we have a very progressive farmer, Shri Bharat Bhushan Tyagi. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Gayatri Suman Farm and Nursery, which is a service provider of NCOF. NCOF is National Center for Organic Farming, of which Dr. Yadav is the director. The panel will be moderated by Dr. Kaur, who will lay down the ground rules for the discussion. And I would like to acknowledge in front of all of you that firstly, that we are extremely grateful to our guests who have accepted our invitation at extremely short notice. In fact, just a day or two before this. And of course, the person who was able to motivate all of them is none other than our Chief Proctor and Director of the Amity Institute of Organic Farming, Shri J.N. Kaul. I think he deserves a big clap. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, let me not hold you further. I will now sit with you and rapidly listen to a great topic that is going to unfold in the next 1 hour or so.
At the outset, let me thank General Dawood. I feel privileged really that he considered me fit enough to find at a very short notice identify the persons, because certainly the whole crux of today's topic is really a burning topic. And probably that means either the civilization has to get up or the civilization has to perish. That was food. Probably if this food is not there and we can get food assured, I would say that will not be really fearful and will have no appreciation for the Almighty God, the nature. But certainly if we can do little bit sort of, that's only because we have to feed the bellies. Topic is really very challenging. Topic is really very interesting. Topic is very simple also. It all depends what our mindsets are, what our thinkings are, and how we take it really practical. And what is the real approach in order to ensure what General Dawood has already said. The World Food Summit, which met in 1996, and gave a formal sort of explanation and interpretation of food security. I'll simply not take time and pass on for discussion because you must be patient enough. Let me simply say that this food security is based on 3 pillars. The 3 important strategic pillars are the food availability, and then the food access, which is most important. Here comes the real resource, and which is now a global dimension and global ramification. And then the food use also. Now incidentally, all the 3 aspects, these 3 pillars, are something in which we have a real perfection, in which we have persons down here at the university. And to me, personally speaking, now with about 4.5 decades of experience, I should say that we can really make a real revolution. We can make a real food revolution. So, as correctly we had in the notification today from General Dawood, it's very close to the heart of our Honorable President, which is really true. He knows and is quite sure and clear that if India has to succeed, if India has to prosper, that will be all dependent upon the prosperity of the farmers. There's no doubt there. And it's not only a forum like this where we'll be deliberating, and General Dawood has very appropriately said that it has to be in series. This was really at a very, very short notice, as you also pointed out, hardly 48 hours. But certainly, I should say that it is really so kind of these resource personnel who did not put me any ifs and buts on their post. So let's have a thundering applause for the real concern. My first person to be addressed was Dr. Parthavan. And from that point of view, Mr. Dixit, Dr. Yadav, R.O. and Richard Farham and Tagiji, all of them have a big apathy for MIT. They have really a pain for MIT to see that it really achieves laurels, not at the national level, but at the international level. And what is really the dream of our founder president, to take MIT not to the heights of at the national level, but also at the international level, where finally we are having a terminal point at being the best university. And I'm sure the type of concern he has, the type of enthusiasm he has, that's really being documented by holding such type of exposures and getting the opinions mobilized. Let me point out that it's not only at this level. The chairperson, ma'am, is also very conscious, and all the MIT international schools have already this topic, among others. For example, like organic farming, a panacea for human and soil health. That is really the answer for food security. There's no other. We can have any debate, but finally we have to agree this fact. That organic farming is a panacea for human and soil health. And I am really amazed that such a title has got the first priority among some of the important strategic and burning issues to which our Honorable Founder President and the Chairperson have already made a series of titles of these burning and strategic topics at the school level to the students of class 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. It includes thousands of students who have to be exposed to these important topics, including among others organic farming, their alternate energy sources, environmental protection laws, biotechnology in everyday life, and recycling and waste management technologies. So these are really the issues which he wants that the young persons in schools are really given the full awareness. And I had the fortune of addressing these young bubbling minds in different chain of international schools in Reddit. And it was really very well absorbed by one school. Kushagra, are you here? I'll be just calling you later. Be seated. The enthusiasm was so much in these young bubbling minds that one gets really amazed and startled. He was the boy who just went to the farmers after hearing to my lecture for 1.5 hours, was so enthused and so much inspired. I didn't tell him. Though I had given them a challenge that I have given you a lecture for 1.5 hours, can you just conceptualize the whole thing? And let the conceptualization be in such a way that it is very bold and at the same time shocking also. Because it has to be shocking. Any campaign, if you want to really make effective, it has to be shocking. Otherwise, it will just fall on deaf ears. We should not be there. And he did it along with his other mate, Siddharth Sharma. They are of class 10th from MT International School, Mayur Vihar. We had it from Noida also. And I have so many boys and girls, young girls, who have really taken up this challenge. But this was certainly very much appreciated because he went to the farmers, interacted with them, and asked them questions what they are using in terms of the fertilizers, what they are using in terms of the pesticides and some other technologies. And then I was really amazed. At this level, at class 10th level, this was something great. And probably these are the things, awareness which has to go among the farmers so that we are able to switch over gradually from the traditional practices which are really giving us poisons and not poisons. So now, I'll give you sir, I can give a small introduction about the honored speakers. Mr. Dr. Parthavan He is holding a master's and a doctorate in economic entomology and PG diploma in patent law and practice. It is something really a sort of supplementary qualifications. In that further one, let me tell you that our Honorable Council President was committed that MET should give 100 patents. And he made this commitment before His Excellency, the former President of India, Yogi Berra. And really speaking, in 11 months, that was short by 1 month, we achieved over 100. And it is covered. So I'm quite sure that that sort of thing which has to come into this technology, we will be able to do. He is the, as the General Governor said, he is the Chief Executive Officer of Life Science Intelligence here. Like what we call it as symbolic. And he has been mostly concentrating on the development of better products, so far as the pesticide and crop protection aspects are concerned. Then he is also the principal investigator of the Bill Gates Foundation project. He has a holistic type of concern, not only to the crops, but he would like to integrate the whole thing in terms of the animals also, and then see what are some vector-borne diseases which go to the human beings also. So he's seeing it in a more holistic manner, the whole universe and the whole ecosystem as such. That's really good. That's what is really good. We don't have to shut eyes on some other things which are interlinked and interrelated. He has also a book published which will be really very handy. And at the same time is a widely traveled person, having conducted various training programs in Europe, Africa and some Asian countries also. We welcome you, sir. And I'm quite sure that you will talk to Then Mr. Ashok Joshi, a really phenomenal person, I should say. Having a master's in agriculture, that is really a asset for him. And then for the business development, he has quite adequate qualifications in terms of postgraduate diplomas in marketing as well as export management. He has over 2.5 decades of experience in rural sales of agri inputs, marketing, logistics, warehousing, rural advertising, and related services to the agri-commodity markets. He has been with a galaxy of corporates, including Zuari Agrochemicals, Chambal Fertilizers, Keg Farms, Indian Agri-Business Systems, West African Cotton Company. Last over 3 years with the National Bulk Handling Corporation, which has a simple punchline, adding value to agri-commodities. He is presently the Vice President and Zonal Head Business Development for this light organization. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for having really accepted our invitation. And applicable at the farmers level. Now to the last, we welcome you, sir, Dr. Yadav. And last, Dr. Yadav, he is really a very enriching father, who is a graduate in science from Delhi University. But then later on he has taken up to organic farming, and in self-help groups he is heading as a Chief Executive Officer of contributions in this area. He has been in organic farming for the last 15 years and has made a good substantial contribution. Let me tell you that we have a MET organic outlet in the H block, I'm providing the learning experience to our students. He is a person and epitome of human values who is really putting his head and heart into the basic functions of the we'll have 15 minutes from each of these learned speakers, and I will request, first of all, we'll follow the same sequence as Bardhaman will be followed by Mr. Joshi, and then Dr. Yadav, and finally. And 15 minutes I should be okay, audience, and I think Dr. Bardhaman, Mr. Joshi. I know that probably it will be really a very
Thank you, Professor Paul. General Saran, Dr. Yadav, Ashok Vishnu, and Sri Bhushan. I would like to share the event that we had a few days ago. ICAR had organized for a conference 28th and 29th in the NAS complex, where they had circulated a questionnaire of 10, out of which one question was really interesting, and as Professor Cole mentioned, it's a shocking input for the people who are looking at food security as an issue. One of the suggestions from my side, I suggested how to encourage the students getting education is not interested in agriculture. That's what the understanding and we pursue. So I suggested any agriculture candidates, I mean BSc agriculture, whoever is joining, whether it's in a private organization or a government organization, during the admission, they should allot 1 acre of land, which they will use as an agri clinic, and they thrive upon that and prove that we can do much better than any other field in agriculture. In my experience as a farmer, if you do everything perfect and you have a proper channel of selling point, agriculture is the most profitable, but there are a lot of issues that we ourselves have developed with an existing system of policies and practices what we have. In my presentation, I have closer to 100 slides. I will just run through, but I will stop in and discuss on a dozen slides which will provoke thoughts among the participants here to take part actively in the panel discussions. We know most part of it as a consumer or as a citizen of this country. We know where we are going wrong, what we are doing, how our policies are helping us to put forth us back into the track. We have lost grip on agriculture in so-called the software and IT industry, and we are trying to come back and try to pull our socks despite the climatic issues that we have been coming across. When we talk about food production, the most shocking news that we all should know, and most part of we know already who are from the rural background, me as a farmer, want to share at least a couple of case studies, one from south and one from north. The hardcore experience of farmers, their economics. The economics of a farmer is a Bible, wherefrom we have to take a lot of lessons for the policies and practices that we are talking about today, which we are going to discuss on. I will focus on a couple of slides on the economics of farmers, then let us discuss at length for days together on the issue, what we are going to do for the food security and how we are going to protect the interest of the farmers and the next generation which is dropping out of agriculture. When we come to food production, let us focus on the food grains which are meant for eliminating the poverty. Let us focus on small scale farmers, because small scale and marginal farmers are the group which is going to safeguard our food security when compared to large scale farmers. If you look at the data of small scale and marginal farmers, I'd like to put forth a few things before I go into. We have defined below poverty line, farmers having less than 2 hectare cultivable land, and 78% of the farmers are below poverty line. They contribute to 41% of the national grain production. They are the main contributors for food security. And how? Let's look at in detail after the case studies. This case is from Tamil Nadu. He is a progressive farmer with around closer to 3 hectares of land where he cultivates rice, one crop, and one crop as pulses after the Kaveri irrigation supply system. I have just given in 2000, 10 years ago, what was his economics, and in 2010, what is his economics. You will be surprised to see that he continues to harvest the same that he is getting. What I mean, the productivity. We have large acreages. In the world, most of the crops we have a large acreage, and our production is also quite good. But what about productivity? That matters. Productivity is the one which is going to take us ahead among other nations. If you look at, he has been producing 10 years ago 2,100 kg rice per acre, and today he has got marginally higher. 1 decade has gone. A lot of schemes, projects, policies we have seen in the last 10 years, and it's in operation everywhere. But what's the reason why we are not able to increase our productivity? It's almost stagnant. If you look at the data which I am going to show, you'll be shocked to see why we are stagnant. Several decades have gone. We are still going ahead with the same amount of productivity per unit area, whereas other nations, the so-called developed nations, are well ahead of us. So this is one shocking news. His expenditure, if you look at, has gone high, but his output is at the same, or more or less the same level. And at farm gate, what I mean, the selling price of these commodities at farmer's price is at the lowest, whereas when it comes to consumers like us, we pay exorbitantly high. What is going on in between? When the rice is purchased at 10 rupees or 12 rupees per kg, procured by the vendors of the government of India, and I buy at the price of 25 to 30 rupees in Delhi. What's the reason? Why? Where we are lacking, despite all our efforts, resources, and everything that we have. The second case study is from Uttarakhand. He's a progressive farmer for generations. And kindly look at the data on wheat and rice. The output, the productivity is almost static. When you discuss with these farmers, they say, oh, it's not profitable today. I'm talking about small scale and marginal farmers. I'm not talking about large scale farmers. If you go to a large scale farmer, they are making good profits because you know the volume matters, and volume can bring down your costs. It's like an example, China. Anything you make in China, you can make it cost effective than other countries, including India. The same way, large scale farmers can make things happen, and they can produce at what price that you want. They have been making good money, but I am worried about the small scale and marginal scale farmers, where I was also one among them. So if you look at it that way, we are absolutely stagnant. We need to look at where we are lacking, why, and how to go beyond this level. If you look at the data, which is from Harvard US University on rice cultivation, the total cost of cultivation in Indian rupees is per hectare. If you look at, it was 9,000 in 1996. This is an authentic information. What I presented earlier is the practical experience from the farmer, small scale farmer. And I'm substantiating what has happened here. Look at 10 years ago, we had 9,000 rupees as cost of cultivation. And today, or in 2006, if you take into account, it's around 23,000 rupees. Gone up like anything, but we have not increased our productivity, which is a deep concern to each and every one of us. Another example I would like to give, the wonders of mechanization of agriculture. This is available to most of the large scale farmers, but small scale farmers are benefited at a very small level. If you look at an example I am giving, for 1 acre threshing of paddy and cleaning, if it's completely mechanized, when the thresher comes, it's only 1 hour to manage 30 bags of paddy in 1 hour's time with the 3 workforce men. But at the same time, if you want to utilize our manpower, it takes nearly about 24 hours and 15 men, and one has to spend close to 5,000 rupees versus 1,000 rupees. This is a typical example if you can go on mechanized situation, because we have come to a stage where there is a declining population of agricultural laborers, and the current generation is not interested in getting into agriculture. That's a big threat. How are we going to manage this? And particularly the areas which are surrounding metropolitan cities like Delhi or NCR is a huge problem which we are deep concern about. Here we have rice, wheat and pulses. The productivity is an official figure. If you look at the food grain productivity, on all India basis, if you look at the total from 2000 to 2009, the total figure what we have is in 2000 it was 1986 kg per hectare, and if you look at the 2000 it is 2186 kg per hectare. Where we have come all the way, more than 1 decade. Lot of things have happened. We have excellent projects, wonderful policies, but at grassroots level, something is lacking. We need to discuss. We need to debate on this forum. Like, we need to understand why and what the best that we can advocate as a citizen of the country and as educated mass who can influence things. Look at wheat, 2,778 kg per hectare we produced in 2000. Little more, 100 kg more we are producing today. I'm talking about on an average. And I'm more concerned about the small scale and marginal scale farmers who are increasing day by day. If you look at the statistics, the small scale farmers are increasing. And we need to be really concerned about that. How we are going to organize? How are we going to organize like a contract farming for small scale farmers who are going to ensure our food security? That is the golden era that we are going to have. Same way it's applicable for pulses. They are almost static. The productivity is concerned, we need to be really concerned and serious about it. So when we talk about food production, we need to produce sufficient quantity of food to feed the people below poverty line. We are not talking about the people living above poverty line. We are more concerned because we are still a developing country. We have seen this slide. Once again, I would like to run through. Below poverty line are categorized with less than 2 hectares of land, and we have more than 78% of the farmers are below poverty line. Imagine they contribute to 41% of the national grain production, and they are going to secure our food security. Increase in population growth and increase in small holding, that's the statistics that we have. Number of factors that affects the food production. Acute shortage of agricultural laborers. Next generation not interested in agriculture. That's very categorical because we have seen computers and modernization. It's quite natural that we want to go through this phase. But how to channelize, how to modernize them, how to bring them back to the track to produce more and more crops, which we need to fulfill our cousins who are under hunger. Climate factors, yes, we cannot control, but we can manipulate them. Lack of proper forewarning systems on crop cultivation for better market price. Most of the small scale farmers and marginal farmers, they grow by virtue of having some land holdings, and they are supposed to produce something in the land and supposed to sell. Who is demanding them to produce? Are there buyers who are setting the specifications for them, or it is just one-way flow? Just because you have some holdings, you have to cultivate and you have to sell. When we look at the 4 regions, south, north and east and western part, the northeastern part is in terms of agriculture is concerned, there is a setback. Unless we bring them back, I mean the Seven Sisters and including some of the eastern states, part of Bihar, Jharkhand and West Bengal. We have to put them back into track and then produce more crops so that they don't pull out our national production and productivity. This is the graph that shows the percentage of workforce dependent on agriculture keeps on going down. It was a pretty old figure. Now you look at after 10 years, it's really shocking. When we look at the net product availability of the food grains per capita, we are going down. We are producing, but it is a downward trend if you look at it. One of the main reasons is the stagnant productivity. We are increasing in number of the poor people. If you look at the small holdings and marginal farmers compared to medium and large scale farmers, they are accounting for 78% of the workforce, and farmers contribute to our food security. So we should really concern about the unorganized small scale and marginal scale farmers who are going to ensure food security for us. This is the same slide in breakup for different segments of the farming community. We had a green revolution, which we call as a golden era. We have multiplied our cultivation areas, and we have used improved seeds and improved varieties, and we have really seen green revolution. What we are going to do in the second green revolution is really going to matter. We have a lot of problems, like the fragments of landholds, the typical example, smallholders and marginal farmers, and of course, there are a lot of problems like poor price realization, ignorance about the requirements and preferences of buyers, especially the small scale and marginal scale farmers. Lack of capital forcing farmers to compromise on the quality and quantity of farm inputs. Lack of forecasting systems, what to produce and when to produce and how much to produce. Although we have systems in place, but how much is reaching the small scale and marginal scale farmers? This is another example. At a small scale farmer level, no control on crop cultivation in a particular area. They just follow the blind conventional approach. Because they have a piece of land, they are supposed to cultivate something on the land because of the climatical factors, and that's not influenced by the buyers. He just produces and he needs to sell, and at the lowest price than any other industry. It is the only industry where the producer does not fix the price. In all other industry, the producer fixes the price and producer knows the dynamics of the trade. Whereas only in agriculture, the producer does not know ABCD of anything. He just produces and he just happens to sell it to someone who is declaring the price which is abysmally low. Are we really into contract farming to help these small scale farmers to increase food grain production? No, we are nowhere. We have big corporates into cocoa, potato, chili, groundnut, tobacco and oilseed crops. But when it comes to food grains and that to marginal and small scale farmers, we don't have any organization. Are we really serious about that to organize them? Where in small fragments, when you cultivate crops, you get less profits. But if you can organize through contract farming, there is a big opportunity that you can improve their profitability so they can encourage them. You can reduce the dropout of agriculture. Internationally, the Global Hunger Index is fixed to understand a country's position in terms of food production and food security. This is from International Food Policy Research Institute, who fixes this Global Hunger Index. When it comes to India, it's categorized as alarming. I would like to spend a minute in this slide. There are 4 categories, if you look at, from third from the bottommost, 1.5 to 9.9, that is 1 to 10% if you take, that's low to moderate hunger countries, and 10 to 20% countries are really serious about hunger, and 20 to 30% are really alarming as far as the hunger index is concerned, and more than 30 extremely alarming. Where we are, if you look at, and this is the place we are. China is at low to moderate category, whereas we are at alarming phase with a GHI index of 23.9. India ranks at the 65th position out of 84 countries in hunger index. Two factors we can take into account. One is policies and practices. The policies of Government of India and the practices that we have, which has got a number of factors to play around. And the other one is the climatic factors, which is beyond our control, but it is very much under our manipulation. We can manipulate these factors to cultivate crops successfully. The way the population is growing, the food grain production is not happening. I mean the rate of growth of population and the rate of growth of production of food grains. I mean wheat, rice and pulses to feed the below poverty line people. When you look at this figure, there is a marginal increase in production over the years, but the population is increasing. Again, I would like you to see this slide. The reason we are almost stagnant in terms of productivity is concerned. We are producing, but are we producing with the effort and energy that we are spending on it? No, really not. As a farmer, if you ask me, no, what I have been producing, if I have been used to 30 to 40 bags per acre, I am getting maybe 3 to 5 bags more I am getting after 10 years of mechanization, the so-called revolution that we have seen. See the wheat production, India has got a large in acreage, no doubt about it, and our production is also pretty high. But you look at per acre how much we are taking for the effort that we are putting. The investment that we are putting, we are not getting what we are supposed to get. And more than a decade, this is the situation. Look at rice, it's more or less same. We have a large acreage in India compared to China, the US and other countries, and our production is not bad. But when you come to productivity, yield per acre is abnormally low. Pulses we don't have to talk about because pulse as a crop is completely unorganized. Where I have a fallow land, where I have nothing to do, I go for pulse. And it is mostly under rainfall situations or with the resource or moisture available in the soil that we want to capitalize on that. So pulse is a completely unorganized, but we need to focus and bring back for the people to feed. What is food security has already been explained by General Dow. So it's the same thing, what we produce has to be available, have to be accessible, have to be acceptable, and it should be in adequate quantity. This is what FAO wants. Dietary requirements by ICMR, we are to supply 485 gram per day. When we look at the food grain availability, it's more or less closer to what is the requirement. But look at the way it's coming down from 1991 to 2007. From 510 to 439 is the per capita net availability of food grains. That is alarming. When we want food security, availability, acceptability, accessibility, acceptability and adequacy. They want we produce a lot of food grains and food, and we know that is it really accessible to the below poverty people? Is it in the form of acceptability? Are we producing adequate to stop hunger? I would like to recall once again the great word, everything else can wait but not agriculture. We need to be really serious about it, and we need to discuss a lot in this to set a trend. I would like to rush through a few slides. National Food Security Mission has set up a few goals to increase rice to 10 million tons and wheat to 8 million tons and pulses 2 million tons by end of the 11th plan. and they have set up missionaries and various schemes to see that the country is living without poverty within a short span. The last point I would like to stress upon, enhancing farm level economy to restore confidence amongst the farmers. Why this point here? And this is the point especially for small scale and marginal scale farmers who are completely unorganized, who are not accessible to most of the informations, because most of them are not illiterate and they don't have access to the modern technology that is available. That's why we are really concerned about how to enhance the farm level economy by convincing the farmers and gaining their confidence and making the next generations pay back on agriculture. A number of points which I need to move on fast. The climate change and food production has got really to do with that, and we have seen almost every year, including the recent unexpected rains in this part of the country, has ruined a lot of life and agricultural cultivation and production. So really, the global warming is impacting to a large extent. But there are ways and means that we have been chalked out, and there are forewarning systems and forecast systems have been developed by the meteorology department in conjunction with the agriculture and research machinery to follow. The marginal changes in monsoon months, large changes during non-monsoon months have been predicted. Even a small change in 2 to 4 degrees centigrade have been projected to give a tremendous impact after 2020. I will go to the last slide to stress upon a few points which really we need to really organize agriculture for the small scale farmers, enhancing the yield of major commodities, emphasis on rainfed ecosystem through check dams in villages, maximizing the irrigation facilities, optimizing utilization, empowering small scale farmers through the new concept of self-help group, which has seen a tremendous success in most of the states in India. Accurate forecast and forewarning systems through IT and GIS, maximizing mechanization in agriculture for higher profitability and disaster management with the crop insurance and assurance of returns. With that, I would like to conclude and to thank the Honorable Founder President, Dr. Chauhan, and all other sound guys. And thank you very much for your
speakers on the dais, our president of MIT College, a wonderful institution, General Governor, Professor Paul, and ladies and gentlemen. A very hot topic, food security, and I tried to squeeze, I was given 15 minutes. So now that we are not sensitive to the topic, we are, and I tried to squeeze my thoughts in 7 slides. If you subtract the first and the last, it makes it 5. And again, I repeat myself, we have to be sensitive to the topic through these 5 slides, and then we debate, we talk. Now here, the first slide talks about India as we, as a country, as a nation, food production, highest in fruits, second highest in vegetables, largest producers in grains, 1/10 world's arable land, and economy, which is, when you talk about GDP, which is being changed every 3 months. Now this year the estimate is going to be 8 plus to 2010, 2011. Now when you talk about this slide, I just try to depict the food industry we are talking about. See, when you talk about the losses, the post-harvest management, that is where we are into. We are talking about the losses, we see the losses every day. So we can relate it with our own experiences, what we see ourselves. But can you imagine, if I talk about the figure, it is not less than about 55,000 crores every year. Losses after harvest. And can you imagine the losses for food processing industry, the revenues we can generate from that? So, I'm talking about the perishables, it is about 30% we talk about. 30% losses when we talk about post-harvest, after harvest. Now here I'll just take you through a couple of slides which talks about the system, the industry we are into, and what are the hazards we are facing both in terms of the quality and the safety of food. Quality and the quantity of the food. The food safety challenges I was talking about. We as an organization emphasize, we give guarantees both to the producer as well as the user of the food commodities in terms of the quality and the quantity of the commodities. So these are the challenges what we face, what we have seen and what we have as on today in India. New projects, low awareness levels, technical manpower, there's a deficit. Absence of basic standardization and certification infrastructure, that is where the quality certification comes in. Inadequate cold storage infrastructure. And demand supply gap in terms of the capacities when you talk about the dry storages and the wet storages. Challenges I was talking about in terms of the quality aspect. That is where we feel that we should be creating awareness. The process items meant for consumption should be allowed to storage only in the selected accredited warehouses. And the standardized rating mechanism for raw material, self-regulatory mechanism required for best practice in technologies, setting up and upgrading of the food technology testing laboratories. And of course we have the regulations as on today. There is a food safety standard is there. Warehousing Act, which is 2007, which is going to be implemented this year, which will be very helpful in terms of the industry where we belong. Where the standardization of the warehouses will happen, and the warehouse, the seat funding, which is again a revolution which is happening at the rural, which will be negotiable. That means the commodity won't be moving from warehouses, but it can be sold from one person to other person. Now, our experiences. I've just tried to put our experiences in a couple of points. That we, as an organization, are quality standard organization, accredited 9001, 22,000, which talks about the safety aspect of the commodity, what we handle for various clients as well as the farmers and the processors across India as well today. The quality evaluation in trade practices which requires a minimum protection to grains, use of insecticides. Dr. Shah was talking about, imbalanced use of fertilizers and pesticides. Trade practices which are for the farmers, the producers as well as the buyers, the users, and real-time management of the produce from the time of the arrival of the commodity in the warehouses till it is dispatched for the consumption, the market, to the consumers. Now, road ahead for us is enhancement of the storage system. That is where India we have to work off, both in terms of dry, bulk, and the wet warehouses. Evaluation and enhancement of food management system, and handling and processing systems, quality assurances, and of course better practices when it comes to the pest management or the management of the commodities in our warehouses. This is in a nutshell our organization. but there is much more happening other than which I have not been able to put in the slides, which we can speak on. And the last slide, of course, is thank you to all of you. I am here, of course, I tried to squeeze in what was possible in these 5 slides, but I am here with a talk. Thank you.
Honorable Founder of the State, Mr. Ashok Chaudhary, General Dhawan, Mr. Sunil Saran, my colleague Dr. Bhattacharya, kindly Singh, friends on the dais, Mr. Bhartivan, Mr. Jutshi, Tyagi ji, ladies and gentlemen, given the time, I'll try to restrict myself to very simple and core issues which are related to the food security. First I'll start with that. Last 40 years we talked about green revolution. We have grown pretty good quantity of the food and now we are self-sufficient. But how much we are self-sufficient? And what's the cost of this self-sufficiency? And once we analyze the cost, then again question comes, are we really self-sufficient? Now when we talk about the food security, there are 2 different meanings for nation and for nation means if it is producing enough to feed the entire people, then the nation becomes the food security. That's I think what we are. We need not to have much concern. But to the people, food security means when he is able to access the food. When he is able to access the food, for a poor man it is when it is available at the affordable prices. The entire problem lies here. Although the nation is food secure, but many of the people are not food secure. Because food is there, but they do not have the resources to buy it. We have not been able to empower them with the capability to earn enough of money to buy that. Now, how we can ensure it and how a nation can ensure it? Either we can empower the people to earn sufficient money and buy it, else the government provide the food at affordable prices or give them free. And also nation has to ensure that the food production keeps on increasing with the time in proportion to the growth of the population. And I think for a country like us, we need to work on all the 3 lines. This you know very well, that we are now self-sufficient. This year, with very good monsoon and everything, we are expected to cross all the previous targets, and there is an expectation that we will be crossing almost 55 million tons of the food grain production. Best year was the 2008 when we crossed 230. But this much is not sufficient. Our requirement of the agricultural growth is almost about 4%. But cumulatively we are growing almost at 1.8%. That's a cause of concern. Another thing is that we are losing the resources. Soil fertility reducing. Land available for the cultivation is also reducing. Best land is going for urbanization, industrialization, and agriculture is moving towards the marginal lands. Marginal lands are not fit for wheat. Another problem which is growing, profitability. You ask any farmer, nobody wanted to do the farm. A survey was done. where it came out that 65 to 70% of the farmers are ready to quit farming given the option. They don't have the option, that's why they do. Why? Why it has happened so? We have to think. For a nation, we need the growth rate of different crops for our future. The way we are growing and the way our requirements are coming up, we require an average growth rate of about 1.9, 2.1, 1 point different crops. But you see, we are almost falling short of all these things except, you can say, milk, fruits and vegetables. We are almost meeting our growth rate requirement. But in most of the commodities we are falling short. Soil health, which is also coming up very fast as a major impediment, that is creating a deceleration in the growth of the total factor of the productivity. You can see what was the rate of the factor of the productivity during the 81 to 90 and what we are having from 91 to 97. You can compare West Bengal, these are some of the states, they are coming up like that. You can also see crop wise also, even the productivity has declined from plus, in most of the cases it has come down to the minus. Fertilizers, as already everybody knows, plays very important role in the production. And the entire success what we achieve, we have achieved, scientists attribute almost 50% credit to the fertilizers. Now in the fertilizers you can see over the years, increasing use is there, but corresponding productivity is not increasing. Initially when we introduced the fertilizers, every kilogram of the fertilizer was increasing the productivity by almost 13 kg. Now that ratio has come down. Against every kilogram of the fertilizer used, we produce only 3.5 kg. So that's a serious concern. You can see it here. 13.4 we have come down to 3.7. Another problem which is coming up very fast in our most of the soils is nutrient deficiencies are coming. Started with nitrogen, then nitrogen, iron, nitrogen, phosphorus, zinc, potash, sulfur, manganese, boron. We do not know where. If we will continue like that, our soil will become simple, a neutral, blank growing. If you see the fertilizer consumption ratio over the last 5 years and how much productivity has increased, fertilizer usage in last 5 years has grown by 25%, 24.78% something like that. And the food grade have increased by 27.8%. Now our challenge with us every year is how to sustain. And to sustain it, we need to increase the fertilizer usage by 20%. Now our productivity and food security at ground level has almost become highly dependent upon the availability of the fertilizers. If there are no fertilizers, in one season we will not be food secure. Now, how much is the self-sustainability in case of the fertilizer? Take the example of urea. We are self-sufficient by 80%, 20% gets imported, DAP 38%, MOP 100%. And surprisingly, in the first two cases, urea and DAP, we are self-sufficient at some level. 62 to 65% of their food feedstock is also imported. So put together, if we put together everything, fertilizers are import dependent by 65%. So one particular input which contributes to 50% of the productivity, that this majority of the input is imported. Anybody can dictate the terms, and we have come up with that. You disturb our fertilizer supply and food security goes. Now, to the farmers, it is available at a very low prices. To ensure that farmer is able to buy it, farmer is able to use it, and farmer is able to produce the grains at a lower cost. Government gives subsidy. How much amount of the subsidy? This is the figure for the last 3 years. 2007 it almost touched 1.01 lakh, although our petroleum and chemicals minister at that time indicated that it may cross 1,20,000 crore. But somehow later on the prices came down and was restricted only to the 1 lakh crore. Last year it was 8-9, it was about 64,000 crore. 9-10 it was 65,000 crore. Final figures are yet to come. And this year we are expecting say 10-11, somewhere near 70,000 crore if prices do not increase. Now, this is a huge cost. Now add to the cost which nation incurs on the research and research. How much it comes to. Now, if we also see the cost which government incurs to make the people food secure in terms of the food subsidy, it's about 35,000 crore, and once the Food Security Act comes in force, it's likely to cross almost about 1 lakh crores. Now what's the total cost of food security to the nation and to the people? Add fertilizer subsidy, add food subsidy, development expenses on the research and research. It's going to be cost. And if we add that much, what will be the cost of the wheat? Can you imagine? 65 rupees a kilo. That's going to be the cost of wheat. Now another thing, what we are doing is, we are using too much of the resources to make the nation secure. This our obsession for the food security is also creating the problem for our future generations. We are training our soils for nutrients. We inherited a very good soil which was full of the nutrients. We are mining it. And when we will hand it over to our next generation, I think it will be half. And when the subsequent generation hands it over, it will be 95%. It's expected, through the rough estimate, that if it goes like that, in 20 years, we will not be able to grow the crops without adding the all 70 elements which are required for the growth of the crop. Soil health, doing, biodiversity, I need not to talk about it. We are losing groundwater. Now that's one of the major concerns. If one of the major impediment which is fast coming up in front of us and which is creating a more problem for the food security is the water. Although we have a lot of precipitation, but that comes and goes. Majority of the area in our country for food production depends upon the ground. It's deeply. We are drawing huge quantities of water every year which was collected in the Mother Earth's stomach in millions of years. I can give you one example in my own farm in Rajasthan. When I was a child, water table was at about 50 feet. Now, it's at 395. And the area has been declared as a dark zone. We used to grow 2 crops initially. Then, with lot of groundwater, we started growing 3 crops. Now we came down to 1 crop. Because there is no water at all. Now it's going to happen. Take the case of Punjab, which is full of rivers, canal irrigation. Water level about 2 decades ago was about 15-20 feet. Now in Punjab also, it is ranging from 150 to 250 feet. Last year it was a drought. Although productivity did not affect, but the water table went down by 60 feet. That's how we are suffering. Now, surprisingly, we are spending government is spending so much, but neither the producer is happy because he is not getting the profitability, not enough productivity, nor the consumer, common consumer is happy because in spite of being produced, they are unable to access it. I am not talking about the people sitting here. I am talking about the people, those who have the limited resources to live. Now what is needed? I leave it to you. There are many things which you can do. In the last only one thing I have to see, whenever we plan policies, we check out the strategies, we always address the immediate concerns. And normally we forget the long-term strategies. We also need to give a thought to them. In 50s there was a time of crisis. Patient was on the bench. So there was no much room for us. जरूरत था जो भी करना है करो, but make the nation food secure. We have achieved it. Now time has come to give a thought. Yes, we have achieved that. But how to improve the quality, the produce, how to improve the quality of the food, and how to improve the lives of those who produce it. And also we have to see one thing. We have inherited the fertile land and the wisdom from our forefathers. We need to enrich it with science and leave a prosperous heritage. We must not fail in our duty to preserve our mother earth. Otherwise, we all know our offspring will curse us. Finally, I say, Mother Earth has enough to meet our needs, but not for the village. Thank you.
Honorable President, sir. Before we request Yadav sir, Tyagi ji, let me thank all the three speakers who have given us a very practical insight, but on a theoretical scientific basis. Now we understand how much the problem is really very, very concerning, and we can see the Honorable President's concern for the food security. And I am quite sure that, as Honorable Governor has said, there is a need for a series of lectures on it. We have just tried to touch the tip of the iceberg. It's a long process, but I am sure that what Dr. Parthaban and Mr. Jitsi have given us the dimensions of the problems. Mr. Jitsi has given more on the post-harvest management aspects, how much alarming is the problem and all, and how we could have the remedial measures. And Dr. Yadav has also given the main conceptual problem that really the productivity is there. And that is the point which I will be having a concluding so far as the remarks on it concerned. As I said earlier also, that this is our respected chairperson ma'am also, that at the level of all international schools and international schools, we have taken this problem right to the classes 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th also. I had the opportunity of addressing the students at different schools in order to bring them the awareness about the need of organic farming, which is the real panacea for soil health and human safety. I have one student, I just take permission for 2 minutes only. Kushagar Bete, can you come here? I could just get one of the sample student who was available today at short notice. He has really made a commendable effort. He has really made a commendable effort in interacting with the farmers. He is from AIS, MT International School, Mayur Vihar. He has made really a big effort and initiative into it. That was really amazing. He, along with Siddharth Sharma of class 10th from Mayur Vihar School, and interacted with the farmers, a number of farmers, and tried to see what they are practicing, what are their techniques, and what is really the fault in them, and made a film of it, which is really great. I wish that he will be able to develop it. He has asked for more inputs and technical opinions into it in order to develop it. He has really done very well. Would you like to say something more?
Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank Dr. Jane Kaul, who inspired us to make this film. His lecture on organic farming, a real panacea for soil and human health, inspired us very much. That we went to the farms next to the Commonwealth Games village and surveyed many farmers and made a film. I would also like to thank Mrs. Amita Chauhan ma'am, our chairperson, for organizing these type of lectures. Thank you.
So that was really a very comprehensive exercise, and I was really very much satisfied while I was interacting with these young bubbling minds. I really enjoyed a lot in all these chain of schools, and these are the people who can really bring out a big, significant, radical change and take the nation and amity to its heights. What is really the dream of our honorable. Now there will be an interesting another 10-15 minutes from our speaker, who will be really talking now on the practical aspects. Let us hear to him, and I am quite sure that you will really enjoy some of the very important aspects of this organic agriculture vis-a-vis the
आदरणीय प्रधान साहब और सभी विद्वान मनुष्यों को नमस्कार करते हैं। मैं थोड़ा सा अभी जो चर्चा हुई है मैं हिंदी में बात करूंगा और सबको स्वीकार होगा। एक और भी बात मैं जो आपके बीच संवाद करूंगा उसमें मेरी जिंदगी की ये सारी बातें हैं। मेरे पास कोई आंकड़ा नहीं, बल्कि देश का जो आंकड़ा बेहतर से बेहतर हो सकता है वो डॉक्टर वीके यादव ने ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग और कंसेप्ट के बारे में रखा है, उससे मैं सहमत हूँ। एक तरफ हम समस्याओं को देखते हैं साथियों और एक तरफ समाधान को देखते हैं। मेरी दृष्टि में मैं आपसे निवेदन करूंगा सभी थोड़ी देर के लिए मेरे साथ एक डायलॉग करें और मानसिक रूप से तैयार होकर करें, चूंकि समस्या बहुत गहरी है। दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी के पढ़ाई के बाद में लगभग 20 वर्ष मैं गहराई से ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग, विलेज डेवलपमेंट, ग्रामीण सामाजिकता, अर्थव्यवस्था और कृषि को गहराई से देखा और मुझे समस्याएं सामने आई वो काफी गंभीर हैं। ग्रामीण क्षेत्र के बैंकों को लेकर, ग्रामीण क्षेत्र की सामाजिकता को लेकर, वहाँ के कृषि को लेकर जो समस्याएं हैं उनको देखते हुए ऐसा लगता है कि हमारी शिक्षा की जो गति है वो अधूरी है। हम जिधर इस शिक्षा को लेकर चल रहे हैं वो कहीं ना कहीं उस श्रम से दूर होती चली जाती है, प्रकृति के साथ जीने से दूर होती चली जाती है और आदमी और आदमी के बीच के रिश्ते को भी तोड़ रही है। हम जितना शिक्षित होते जा रहे हैं साथियों उतना ही कहीं ना कहीं आपसी विश्वासघात बढ़ने लगा। इस आधार से मैंने जनपद दुआबा क्षेत्र के 12 जिलों में गहरा सर्वेक्षण किया और लगभग 1,30,000 लोगों के साथ बातचीत की। 12,000 लोगों को बीकीपिंग की ट्रेनिंग देने के बाद मुझे लगा कि कहीं समस्या और है। मैं जो आदमी 50,000 के लिए बोलता है वो 10 लाख रुपए कमाने के बाद भी दुखी है, इसकी समस्या का कारण क्या है? गांव का सर्वे करने से मुझे पता लगा कि एक गांव में लगभग प्रति वर्ष 2.5 से 3 करोड़ रुपए की फिजूल खर्ची है, जिसमें रासायनिक खाद, कीटनाशक दवाई, नशा, बहुत सारे कुरीतियां हैं और भी छोटे छोटे जैसे टेलीफोन, मोबाइल अभी गांव में आया तो एक गांव में औसत गांव में मोबाइल का खर्चा 50-60 लाख रुपए प्रति वर्ष का। वो गांव 10,000 रुपए सरकार से मिलने पर टिका है। आखिर जो गांव बैंकों को कर्ज दे सकता है, ऐसी इकोनॉमिक्स अभी भारत के गांवों के साथ होती है। मैंने अर्थशास्त्र का गहरा अध्ययन किया है और जिस अर्थशास्त्र को हम पढ़ रहे हैं ये अर्थशास्त्र छलावा है। मेरी भाषा को गहराई से समझ कैसे छलावा है। इस प्रकृति की जो उत्पादन को जब हम देखते हैं, मैं लगभग 6 साल तक जो आधुनिक खेती है उसको बहुत गहराई से मन लगा कर किया और चौथे साल में मेरा दम टूट गया, माने मैं कर्जदार होता चला। एग्रीकल्चर इनपुट, प्रोसेसिंग इंडस्ट्री और मार्केटिंग मैनेजमेंट तीनों के तीनों किसानों के हाथ में नहीं है। ऐसा घाटे का सौदा जिसमें किसान की लागत भी अपनी ना हो, बाजार की कीमत भी वो तय नहीं कर सकता हो और बाजार का भी इसको पता ना हो, इस घाटे के सौदे को कौन कर सकता है? आप में से कोई तैयार होगा क्या? डॉक्टर यादव ने कहा कि 75% किसान नहीं करना चाहते। मैं कहना चाहता हूँ 100% किसान खेती करना नहीं चाहता। यदि उसको अवसर मिल जाए तो जमीन बेच देगा। इस आधार से कुछ गहरा सोचना पड़ेगा कि तमाम जनता जब एक तरफ कृषि को छोड़कर दूसरी तरफ जा रही है, फिर हम खाद्यान्न की सुरक्षा के लिए कौन सी बात अपनी नजर में देख रहे हैं? गहरी पीड़ा इस बात की है साथियों कि उत्पादन का उपयोगिता, उसका संरक्षण तीन गहरे पहलू हैं जो मनुष्य के जीने के लिए चाहिए। लेकिन यहाँ ना उत्पादन की दृष्टि है, ना उपयोग की दृष्टि है, ना संरक्षण की दृष्टि है, केवल दृष्टि है व्यापार की दृष्टि है, कैसे पैसा हड़पा जाए, कैसे पैसा कमाया जाए। ये मानसिक दोष है, कोई और बीमारी। हम लोगों ने इस सारी करने के बाद बड़ी पीड़ा ये हुई कि क्या किया जाए, आखिर इसका कोई हल तो निकले। लगभग 17-18 साल आध्यात्मिक साधना है, उसके साथ पूरी आधुनिकता, भारत की संस्कृति और उसकी सभ्यता और उसकी तासीर को बहुत गहराई से देखा और 30 वर्ष अपनी जिंदगी के इस दाव पर लगा। ये मुद्दा पीड़ा का भी है जिसमें घर समाज काफी दाव पर लगता है। मैं आप लोगों के साथ गंभीरता से इस बात को इसलिए रखना चाहता हूं कि ये इंस्टीट्यूट इतना बढ़िया मुझको लगा है। मैं आदरणीय चौहान साहब का, डॉक्टर कौल साहब का, डॉक्टर भट्टाचार्य, डॉक्टर पी के गुप्ता का ऋणी। एक किसान की आवाज को कोई सुन ले। यूनिवर्सिटी, सरकारी स्तर की संस्थाएं बात किसान के हित में करती है, लेकिन किसान का कोई स्थान नहीं। वो उसको अपना परिचय देने से अब तकलीफ होने लगी। कोई किसान ये कहे कि मैं किसान हूं, ठीक है, वो एक पान की दुकान खोले हुआ था, उसको उसका नाम बदलकर कुछ भी कह देगा, मेरे पास बिजनेस है, लेकिन खेती की बात नहीं करता। उसको एक घाटे का सौदा। इस आधार पर एक ध्यानाकर्षण मैं आपका कराना चाहता हूं। ये इंस्टीट्यूट अब छोटा सा डाइवर्जन कर दें, एक काम की बात हाथ लगी है साथियों। यूपीटीयू, IIT, IIM, IIIT हैदराबाद और बहुत सारे एकेडमिक एजुकेशन में हमने उसको जांच कर देखा है। वो ह्यूमन वैल्यू के नाम से चैप्टर लागू हुआ है। अब हम अपने बच्चों को सिलेबस के बतौर पढ़ा सकते हैं व्हाट इज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ ह्यूमैनिटी, व्हाट इज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ कैरेक्टर। अब ये संस्कृति का मुद्दा नहीं है, इधर ध्यान नहीं गया। अब ध्यान गया तो पता लगा ये तो आसानी से हमारे बच्चे इसको सीखते हैं। उनका ध्यान जाता है कि हमारा रिश्ता एक आदमी के साथ क्या है, हमारा रिश्ता इस धरती के साथ क्या है। और केवल रिश्ता टूटा है साथियों, रिश्ता हमारे दिमाग से गायब हुआ है। यदि धरती से हमारा रिश्ता होता तो हम उसका अनावश्यक पानी नहीं निकालते, उसकी फर्टिलिटी पर सवाल खड़े नहीं होते, पेड़ पौधों के बीजों की परंपराओं को नष्ट नहीं कर देते। मेरे साथी वैज्ञानिक यहाँ बैठे हैं, मैं सबका सम्मान करता हूँ, लेकिन गौर करके देखें, हमने सॉइल हेल्थ के नाम पर जो कुछ किया है उसकी उर्वरता कम हुई है। हमने नस्ल सुधार के नाम पर जो कुछ हुआ है, हमारे बीज जो पैतृक बीज थे, जो जेनेटिकल जो रिसोर्सेज हमारे पास थी, वो डिसऑर्डर हुई, लुप्त हुई है। जो पशु पक्षियों पर हमने काम किया है, उनकी नस्ल और प्रजातियां गायब हुई हैं, और जो हम लेकर आए हैं वो सस्टेन नहीं है। ध्यान देने का मुद्दा है। यदि है तो उनका अहसास ठीक नहीं है। यदि यह अहसास ठीक होता तो मेरे गांव कमजोर और गरीब और कर्जदार नहीं। मेरे सवाल है आप लोगों के सामने। एक बात। दूसरी बात, यदि हम गहराई से देखें तो सारी धरती में पेड़ पौधे और पशु पक्षियों में कोरिलेशन है, हार्मनी है, कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री डिजाइन है। केवल मनुष्य ने सबको डिसऑर्डर किया है। तो प्रॉब्लम ह्यूमन बेस है या प्रोजेक्ट बेस है? मैं केवल एक आपका ध्यान दिलाना चाहता हूं कि प्रॉब्लम ह्यूमन बेस है या प्रोजेक्ट बेस है। और हम प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट करते हैं, ह्यूमन मैनेजमेंट नाम का कोई चीज हमारे पास नहीं। प्रॉब्लम कहां है और इलाज कहां है? एक सेमिनार हुआ, मैं भी उसमें था, 2-3 घंटे रहा। साथियों, वैज्ञानिकों ने जिस तरीके से विश्लेषण किया, इतनी गहरी निष्ठा के साथ विश्लेषण हुआ, मैं उनकी मेहनत को देखकर तड़प। खास ये बात, ये ताकत एक सही दिशा में लग जाए, कितनी बड़ी ताकत इधर लगी है। क्या था, सारे दिन के सेमिनार में जो कंक्लूजन हुआ तो पता लगा क्वेश्चन अनेक हैं, सॉल्यूशन कुछ नहीं। क्या मतलब, क्या मतलब है साथी? क्या है? 2 समस्याएं, जनसंख्या बढ़ रही है, उसका पेट भरना है, उसको स्वस्थ रखने का ध्यान नहीं, पेट भरना है। उधर किसान की दृष्टि में जाके देखेंगे तो उसको पेट भरने की चिंता नहीं है, उसको जेब भरने की। सरकार का दृष्टिकोण कुछ और है, वैज्ञानिक का दृष्टिकोण कुछ और है, किसान का दृष्टिकोण कुछ और है। इस दृष्टिकोण भेद में कौन सी योजना हम लागू कर पाएंगे, ये गहरा मुद्दा। इस आधार से मेरा आपसे निवेदन है कि जब हम उत्पादन को देखते हैं, जब हम उसकी उपयोगिता को देखते हैं, जब हम उसके संरक्षण को देखते हैं, एक कंप्लीट प्रोजेक्ट उभर कर आता है। इसी का नाम है फूड सिक्योरिटी। इससे कम में काम नहीं चलेगा। मैं अमेठी यूनिवर्सिटी में जब आया पहली बार, चौहान साहब से थोड़ी सी मुलाकात मुझे एक विजन दिखाई, 5 मिनट की चर्चा थी। उस विजन को पानी देने वाले डॉक्टर जैन कौर, डॉक्टर गुप्ता, डॉक्टर भट्टाचार्य जैसे लोग मिले। मैं 3 साल में देखा कि ये कोई प्रसन्नता का मुद्दा नहीं, पर एक गहराई से कैसे हम प्रोडक्ट की कीमत तय करें। मेरी जिद ये थी कि जब मेरा ऑर्गेनिक प्रोडक्शन की कॉस्ट कम हो रही है, मेरी इनपुट की कॉस्ट कम हो गई है, तो मेरे ऑर्गेनिक प्रोडक्शन की कॉस्ट भी कम है। सवाल ये उठा था, कौन साहब कहते थे कि कम में बेचेंगे तो लोग इसको स्वीकार नहीं करेंगे। तो एक जद्दोजहद थी, मैं कह रहा मैं कम में दे सकता हूँ, कौन साहब कह रहे कम से कम बराबर तो रखो। और अंत में तय हुआ कि कम से कम किसान के लिए एक प्रोत्साहन के लिए राशि निकाली जाए और उसको 10 या 20% किसान के पुरस्कार रखा गया, प्रीमियम नहीं, पुरस्कार रखा गया, किसान को दिया जाए, कोई जोखिम बना। साथियों, ये जो एग्रीकल्चर है, ये तो प्रकृति इस ढंग से देती है, यदि हम उससे लेना सीख लें, बहुत बड़ा डिजाइन। हमने उसके गणित को देखा है कि एक दाने से 1000 दाना पैदा करना, उसमें कुवत है। ऐसा धरती का कोई इंश्योरेंस कंपनी और बैंक नहीं जो 8 रुपए लगाने के बाद 10 साल में उसको 8000 बना दे। फिर घाटे में क्यों? इसका मतलब कहीं ना कहीं उत्पादक भी भ्रमित है, बाजार भी भ्रमित है, उपभोक्ता भी भ्रमित है, किसी का कोई रिलेशन नहीं है, सबकी खींचतानी है। हमने एक गणित पैदा कर लिया अपने मन में, क्या? कम देना और ज्यादा लेना। ये डॉक्टर रॉबिन्सन का गणित है, इसको हमने लागू किया सब जगह। कम देना और ज्यादा लेना। प्रॉफिट इज इक्वल टू लॉस, प्रॉफिट इज इक्वल टू लॉस। ये हम पढ़ा रहे हैं। इसमें शोषण होगा या आपस में मित्रता होगी? मित्रता का तो सवाल ही नहीं। इसलिए मेरा एक निवेदन है, मैं ऑर्गेनिक सिस्टम पर इतनी बात कह सकता हूं कि इसमें उत्पादन गिरता नहीं है, बढ़ता है। गुणवत्ता घटती नहीं, पहले से ज्यादा बढ़ती है। और भारत के वैज्ञानिकों के लिए एक निवेदन है कि यदि वो, मैं तो किसान हूं साथियों, जितनी गहराई से वो जमीन को देखना चाह रहे हैं, यदि देखेंगे तो बड़े उपलब्धि हो जाएंगे। तो मात्र हम माइक्रो न्यूट्रिएंट डिफिशियंसी में ना जाए, ये डिफिशियंसी नहीं है, ये डिसऑर्डर है। डिफिशियंसी नहीं है, धरती में डिफिशियंसी है नहीं, हमने उसके सिस्टम को डिसऑर्डर किया है, उसको ब्रेक डाउन कर दिया है। जिसको जहां मिलना चाहिए उसको दूसरी जगह से रिप्लेस कर दिया है, माइग्रेट कर दिया है, ओवरलोड कर दिया है। इसलिए किस तरीके से खेत में बायोमास ज्यादा पैदा हो, धरती की उत्पादन की जो प्रक्रिया है वो किस तरीके से बेहतर हो, जमीन क्या चाहती है, पेड़ पौधों का जेनेटिकल कैरेक्टर कहाँ है, पशु पक्षियों का इसके साथ क्या रोल है और मनुष्य की इसमें क्या भूमिका है, ये चारों फैक्टर हैं ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग के। 4 फैक्टर। मनुष्य अपने को छोड़कर चुप रखता है, बाकी 3 को ठीक करने में लगा। देखिए मजे की बात, अपने को चुप रखता है और 3 को ठीक कर रहा है। जिनको ठीक नहीं कर सकता वहां ताकत लगी है, जो ठीक होना चाहिए वहां ध्यान नहीं। क्या करना पड़ेगा फिर हमको? मैं तो निवेदन ही कर सकता हूं आपसे। मैंने जीकर देखा है, हजारों किसानों के साथ जीकर देखा है, उनकी जिंदगी में खुशहाली आई है। ये धरती सबको खुशहाली पूर्वक जीने की है। मैं अपनी बात को ज्यादा लंबी नहीं बढ़ाऊंगा, समय बहुत कम है, लेकिन इतना जरूर कहूंगा कि जिन साथियों को भी इसकी प्रायोगिक दृष्टि को, व्यवहारिक दृष्टि को, आंकड़ेबाजी को जितना वो देख सकते हैं, देखना चाहें, मैं जिंदा हूं, उनको दिखा सकता हूं। अपने फार्म में दिखा सकता हूं, घर में दिखा सकता हूं, उनके खेत में दिखा सकता हूं, इंस्टीट्यूट में दिखा सकता हूं। मैं बहुत प्रमाणिक पूर्वक जीने वाला व्यक्ति हूं, इसलिए विश्वास में आपके साथ में घोषणा नहीं कर रहा, बल्कि मित्रता पूर्वक प्रस्ताव कर रहा हूं। मेरे को जांचो, मेरे को देख लो, आप मेरे से बेहतर हो, मैं आपको ये सुझाने आया, मेरे से बेहतर। क्योंकि मुझे जब ये बात हाथ लगी तो काफी उम्र निकल गई थी, आप तो जवान और नौजवानों से तो मैं बहुत खुश होता हूँ। कहते थे, निवेदन करूंगा कि हमारे देश की अर्थव्यवस्था, हमारे देश की फूड सिक्योरिटी, हमारे देश में रोजगार की समस्या, हमारे देश में नैसर्गिकता और बदलते अंतर्राष्ट्रीय परिदृश्य में जो तापमान और आतंकवाद की प्रॉब्लम है, आज दो मेजर प्रॉब्लम है। आदमी का रिश्ता आदमी से टूटा, अंतर्राष्ट्रीय आतंक। आदमी का रिश्ता प्रकृति से टूटा, ग्लोबल वार्मिंग। इन दोनों पर यदि काम करना है तो उसका आधार बात है ह्यूमन मैनेजमेंट, ह्यूमन मैनेजमेंट। मैं इसी निवेदन के साथ आदरणीय चौहान साहब से निवेदन करूंगा कि IIT दिल्ली में मेरे एक साथी हैं डॉक्टर गौर, IIT SBK कानपुर में मेरे एक साथी हैं डॉक्टर गणेश बागड़िया, और इस तरीके से देश में पूरी एक टीम है। मैं आपको उनका पता दे दूंगा, आप उनके साथ कंसल्ट करके इसको सिलेबस में लाने का काम करें, बहुत बड़ा पुण्य होगा। मैं आपको उत्साहित करने के लिए आया हूं, आवेशित करने के लिए। उत्साहित का मतलब क्या है? हम आज होश में रखकर इतना बड़ा काम कर सकते हैं। भारत बहुत गौरवशाली देश है, इसको यूरोप के प्रभाव में, दबाव में ना आए, बल्कि ये इसकी नेचुरल कंडीशन जो उभरने की है वो उसमें उभरे। तो इस देश में ना रोजगारी की समस्या है, ना इसमें आतंकवाद की समस्या है, ना यहाँ ग्लोबल वार्मिंग की समस्या है। ये देश दुनिया के लिए एक सुधारी है। एक मैं सपना नहीं देख रहा हूँ साथियों, बड़ी खुली बात कह रहा हूँ, भाषण नहीं है ये। यदि ऐसा करके आप देखें तो आपको ये विजन दिखने लगेगा, ये दिखने लगेगा, तो हम सब मिलकर देख सकते हैं ऐसा पूरा संभव है। मैंने अपना निवेदन आपके साथ रखा, किसी को अन्य मैसेज किया हो मैं उसके लिए क्षमा चाहूंगा सभी को।
मेरे ख्याल में यादव साहब ने जो हमें सारी समीक्षा की, हाँ, so this was really something mind boggling। और चीज उन्होंने फिर वही जो सिद्ध करके रखी है, and that is really what three pillars of I said earlier of food security। उसमें लिखा है that food availability, but with one caution, sufficient quantities available on a consistent basis, which we know. Fertilizers cannot achieve that. They don't have that sort of feature or any characteristic. वो नहीं हो सकते, वही मेरे ख्याल में बात कुछ इंजीनियर को होता है। Then number two, food access, consistent. That has to be really on an economic basis. That is also linked up with the first one, because if you can really have a good production, which is a simple sort of a equation, a economic principle as such. And then third one is the food use. That is also linked up with the first and second one. So what I mean to say is that we have seen from the data which has been given by all over the eminent speakers, the thing is simple, that's why I sit. एक दिमाग पर आपने देखा डाटा जो त्यागी जी ने भी दे दिया अपने में, उसमें जो उन्होंने बताया आपको, उसमें बिल्कुल ताकत नहीं, टोटली। और जो यादव साहब ने भी अपने प्रेजेंटेशन में दिया, यू कुड हैव सीन जब फर्टिलाइजर यूसेज हमने 27.8% इंक्रीज की अनाउंसमेंट की, एंड द यील्ड प्रोडक्शन वाज ओनली 78%। दैट्स रियली a big point of concern to be understood. And to be very much frank, recently we had a lecture by our ex-DG ICAR. He has listed 4 factors. Productivity has to be increased, which is coming up with the same thing. then higher income and low cost technologies, and third one was sustainability, and fourth was climatic change. I think the answer to all these four challenges, which are really limiting our food security, this is the nutshell. I can show by proofs and we can have lectures and lectures. मगर जो बात अभी वर्भूषण जी ने कही है, वो इसी बात को सिद्ध करती है, soil is sick, number one. And number two जो ज़्यादा सबसे important है, that is to change the mindset of the people. A farmer will not be satisfied unless he puts 4 bags of urea, whereas the need may be only for half a bag. And question is coming that you are making the soil more and more sick. अभी आप देख लीजिए बड़े साहब ने साइट स्पेसिफिक क्रॉप रेजिड्यूज क्या चीज को सिद्ध करता है. It's only the organic farming technologies, the conservation agriculture technologies, which can make us to achieve, of course, the change in the mindsets, for which MIT is at the top. मैं वर्भूषण जी को भी ये कहना चाहता हूँ, जैसे मॉरल वैल्यूज हैं, ह्यूमन वैल्यूज हैं, we are really humble about it. It has been conceived by our honorable founder president, the 101 attributes of an MIT. General Governor always says that we grind and polish. And I am really proud of Dr. Pardaman, that he is such an admirer of MIT, that he has admitted, got enrolled. Priyadarshini, can you just come here? Into our course, just see the bold initiative he has taken. It's really a bold part. We should be really a proud part. She will be the messenger of MIT. She will be a brand ambassador of MIT. You have to say how do you feel? You are only 2 months old to the program. BSc Agriculture and Food Business.
Good evening.
First semester, sir.
Good evening, Honorable President Ramcharan and Dr. Kaur. I'm really blessed to be the founder student of BSc Agriculture and Food Business, and I wholeheartedly thank you, MIT, to conduct a course just for 2 students. Really thankful to everyone. Thank you.
So I am really appreciating, sir, your bold initiative. I tried to put it down that 2 students, how can I run a program like that? But I am quite sure 2 is really something which can be multiplied by students. These 2 will be the further messengers, and they will be the lead torch bearer in order to show what we have at MIT and how what will be our problem. So that is really something. Now in the last, before I hand over to General Dhawan sir, I'll just take 2 minutes. Our honorable founder president, I would like to see, make all the audience aware. He has already such a big vision. It is something which really you cannot I must believe something to trust. He has such a big vision that he has put 8 questions. And at least I, with 45 years of experience, the questions look to be so simple. And each question is worth a big conference. And I am quite sure if we give the answers to these 8 questions, we have 8 workshops. Let them be at the international level. I will organize them. 8 workshops at the international levels. Every question has a meaning, and that will put the whole food security scenario on the right path. It will change the mindsets. But once we have to really get that sort of insight into it and get them solved. These were the questions which our honorable founder president, every question is really very innovative and creative and has a big depth of research. These were put to Dr. Yadav, and I had a copy of it. I'm really feeling shameful that we have not done it so far. I admit. But every question, if Honorable Founder President allows me, permits me, I would just list down these questions. Sir, the first question, how to make organic products affordable? Very important question. Sir, these are basic concepts. It look to be simple, but how is the answer for that? Number 2, how to bring awareness among the farmers that such products can earn more revenue. If we can really get the statistics and change the mindsets of the farmers, I think definitely there will be a radical and a dynamic shift, a dramatic shift from conventional to organic farming. Third, how to convince retail stores. See the dimensions. All over the country, to have separate departments for organic agri products and the people there to explain how healthy friendly the products are. Fantastic. Fourth question, we should speak to government that they give subsidy or similar help to farmers to produce such products. Then to organize seminars, public workshops all over the country to bring more awareness of such products. Sixth, we want to start a study of research program because this is something really great that shows how our honorable I am really, it's incredible. We want to start a study of research program. This is the most debatable one. But those people who are really optimistic, they will really believe what he says. And I have proofs here to show. I have brought the requisite from the foreign literature. I have talked with the people also. And we'll have international summit. This is, we have to bring the gene revolution. That is the way out. We want to start a study of research program at the MIT University, proving that the most controversial genetically modified organisms, GMOs, respond better to the organic agriculture. And those who are optimistic do believe the proper scientific background. We want to start a study of research program at MIT, proving that GMOs respond better to the organic agri products. How to tackle lobbies of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and others who would be disturbed through organic farming. And the last one, how to make each and everyone aware that the organic fertilizers, organic pesticides would contribute to higher and better yields. So we accept this challenge and certainly we assure that we show a progressive response to all your these innovative and creative questions. I feel really ashamed that I have not done anything and I have had a total sort of interaction with Dr. Yadav also. And will find and become responsible for these 8 innovative questions. And let me say, by virtue of all my 4.5 decades of experience, that is the answer to food security. It changes everything. It brings everything. Once we have the extension machinery, the farmer knowledge management, all these 8 questions answered. We have a brainstorming session on this. I will try to identify the people. I have already seen some. I am on it. Identify the people internationally. And there is one point for the audience as such, if it's a layman, anybody can understand, that the soils which have low organic matter, these are the carbon containing compounds, and organic matter comes only through organic sources. That is the manures. We have different options, maybe through vermicompost, maybe through cattle manures, maybe we have even the green manure crops, maybe we have biofertilizers, it comes through. And one person, I think he should be given he should really worth a Nobel Prize. He has simply said in simple words, and that gives us all what we have deliberated so far. He says that a soil which has a low organic matter is biologically dead. That means, unfortunately, as we say, the doctor's diagnosis is brain dead. It's exactly the same thing. And that's what Bhushan has also brought out finally in his talk. That is sure that a soil having less organic matter is biologically dead. That means it is brain dead. Again giving us the same clue that we have to improve this organic matter, which is only possible through conservation activities. हमें तो सिर्फ अपने पेट की बात है. We are selfish people, to be very clear. अपना काम हो गया, ठीक है. आपने wheat में से जो है wheat का grain ले लिया और चपाती बना ली, और कुछ products process कर लिए. Whatever that stem, where has it gone? We for our own comforts, particularly in Punjab and some other states, would burn it. उससे सारी soil sterile हो जाती है. सारी soil sterile हो जाती है, it cannot produce anything. And then we have to pump in tons of fertilizers. Which is basically wrong. Again, that you have changed the soil to be biologically dead. Nothing else. So therefore, we have to really improvise on these situations. I think what Bhushan has said, that is really amazing. He has really brought us what is exactly true. I again repeat that a soil having low organic matter biologically dead. It's again the same thing, brain dead. So our sort of emotions and all that we want that such person should come up and let him be put on the respiratory system or automatic supplement system. We cannot kill the person. We have that sort of voltage and emotional linkage with the patient. So otherwise, it's the same thing that they cannot. And it goes sometimes to months. So thank you very much.